We will never have affordable housing in this country again because people have built their wealth on real estate.
Affordable housing and homeownership in general seems like a fantasy because I've been doing the math all morning and I think it's actually cheaper long-term to rent now than it is to own a home in a lot of cases. I think that's why a lot of people are finding out the hard way that being a landlord for just like a few houses on the side isn't really a get-rich-quick scheme anymore as a side hustle. So let's break it down. First of all, there's tons of hidden fees that come with home ownership, such as house repairs. A lot of numbers thrown around the internet, so I decided to round down to $4,000 a year. And on top of that, your utilities every month are vastly more expensive than apartments. You also have property taxes that vary a ton. So first, let's calculate the cost of living in an apartment for 30 years, because that's the timeline of the average mortgage one would take out on a home. In Minneapolis, the average 2-bedroom is going to run you about $1,900 a month, which seemed on par with what I know. And we'll add on utilities for about $120 a month. And on top of that, my insurance is only $10 a month, but we'll say $15. And then lastly, we'll say your parking runs you about $110. And we take this number, multiply it by 12 months in the year. That's how much you pay yearly, and then we will multiply that by 30 years. So assuming your rent doesn't increase dramatically, which is always an ever-present possibility, you're going to end up with a little bit under $1 million. Now let's figure out the cost of living in a 2-bedroom home here in Minnesota. As you can see, the prices varied a lot. For a home that's not going to run you too many renovations, I figured about $550,000 after all of the hidden fees is going to be about the cost. The average down payment for Minnesota runs at 16%. So in the mortgage calculator, we got $88,000 down for 30 years at the standard current interest rate. Gives us our monthly mortgage payments. You can see it's already considerably higher. So again, multiply this by 12 months in the year, and then we multiply this by 30 years, and that alone without anything else is already a large number. Also, I don't understand how this number is so high. I did this calculation a dozen times. I feel like there's something I have to be doing wrong here. Don't forget that original down payment you put on, which brings us to this. And then we have utilities every month, which I rounded down to $400, even though they said it would come out to about $500, but that felt high to me. And then on top of this, across the internet, it seemed a consensus that maintenance averaged about like $2,000 a year to like $10,000. So we'll just say $4,000 every year. Hopefully your home isn't completely falling apart. And that would bring us to this big round number, which is considerably higher than what we got for living in an apartment. And we're not locked into one location for this. We can move around whenever we want. But hey, some people like that and some people don't. Don't worry, I also did the side calculations on my own if you manage to find a reliable $300,000 house. And it is still much higher than apartment living. All of this doesn't even calculate the fact that like home ownership is really difficult if you're not someone who's like super handy, which a lot of us aren't. When you live in an apartment, there's someone who can just come and fix everything for you. You don't need to worry about it, and you can just pack up and leave and come back whenever you want. The next time your family's hounding you about how you need to buy a house right now, you can just show them this.